One of the first things I wanted to do with this case study was show Bob a clip from the Graham Norton show that featured Matt Damon. Matt Damon hit quick. He was 27 years old when he won an Oscar for Good Will Hunting. He reflects on that evening with Graham.
That night must have sent you into a tailspin. Did you go crazy that actual night? Did you go nuts?
Actually, I remember very clearly going back with my girlfriend at the time, and we went to her house, and she went to sleep, and seriously, I couldn't. Well, I had a ponytail back then. But I couldn't sleep. I was just kind of still buzzing and was sitting there, and I remember very clearly looking at that award and thinking very, very clearly. Am I allowed to say a four-letter word on this show?
Sure.
I literally looked at it. I was alone with it, and I said to myself, "Thank God I didn't fuck anybody over for this." And I suddenly had this kind of thing wash over me where I thought, imagine chasing that and not getting it, and getting it finally in your 80s or your 90s with all of life behind you, and realizing what an unbelievable waste of your, you know what I mean? Because it can't, it's got to be, you know what I mean? It's not, it
can't be good enough.
Right. It can't fill you up. It will never, if that's a hole that you have, that won't fill it. Right? And I felt so, like, blessed to have that awareness at 27.
To learn it at that age.
To learn it, and because I wouldn't have known it unless I knew it, you know what I mean?
You're right, like, imagine figuring it out at 80, that would be...
How hard, and I literally, like, my heart broke for a second. It's like I imagined another one of me, you know, an old man, kind of going like, oh my God, where did my life go? What have I done?
I know exactly what he's speaking about. I had the exact same feeling in '96 when we won the national championship at Florida, and celebrating all evening, all night with everybody. And my wife and I walking into our room about 7:30 in the morning after all of the celebration. And she went to bed also, and realizing this, why do I feel this way? I had almost a sinking feeling of, wow, it's over, and it wasn't that big a deal. And thinking the next day, week, is going to be kind of boring because the chase is gone. And realizing that the chase and the pursuit of it was the excitement. And once you get it, yeah, you get to talk about it a little bit, but it isn't nearly as fun as chasing it, pursuing it, going after it. And then I had the same similar feeling, of course, in 2000 when we won it, but I was ready for it this time. I remember walking, again, up all night, walking into our room sometime early in the morning and realizing, it's gone.
So Bob realized very early in his career how fleeting the feeling of success is. I asked Bob, what do you think of this line? You light the fire that burns you. Here's his response.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I would have been a lot better off losing the first 2 or 3 national championships and winning it my 3rd or 4th time. Then everybody would have saw early on, well, they're progressing, and now they got it. Well, everyone thought I made it look easy, that we went undefeated in our 2nd year, and now that's all the monster wanted.
And that's all he wanted. And their fan base is unbelievable there. It's part of what makes it so special. But they can be rabid, and here's an example of that.
We lost a game here against Kansas State. I can't remember the year. And, you know, I come out to go to the office Sunday morning, about 6 in the morning. I noticed a for sale sign in front of my house.
And Bob is the most successful coach to coach there. And here's what's really interesting about it. The fans, and Bob would tell you this, that's what makes that place so special. So you can't have it one way without the other if they're going to be that engaged to what you're doing. And it allows him to build what he's built. But it also creates a situation where if you win it in year 2, what does everyone expect for the next 16 years? A championship. So high level of expectation. So the only way you can survive in one place like that is to detach from man's approval. And that's something that Bob's done, and it's a requirement for his seat. Bob decided to step away at an untimely time, and it was a complete internal experience. Here's why.
There wasn't anyone I could speak to it about. As soon as you do, and you want to be sure to yourself that, do I even want to go down that road?
Because Bob's an icon, if he starts processing through it with other people, what happens? There's a potential for it to leak, right? So he has to get to that decision on his own. He did get to that decision on his own, and here's what happened.
Several tried to talk me out of it, but in the end, I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew, for my life, what, the direction I wanted to go. And I think sometimes people will stay in positions just because they feel they're supposed to, because it is out of the ordinary. But I wasn't going to do that.
And that's what he walked away from. I showed him this picture, and I said, what's the emotion in that picture?
I was excited about it. I was not solemn whatsoever. I think just because of so many people speaking, it becomes that. My only worry was speaking to the players earlier to make sure they were good with it, and they were. They all stood up, gave me a standing ovation, which made me feel great. And they knew, they have confidence in Lincoln Riley, as I did, that this is all good. To me, as I said in my release, to everything there is a season, to every purpose under the sun. And I'm big on that. And I knew the succession was going to be great. And so that made it easy for me. I don't think I could have ever, I don't think I would have had these thoughts and this come to me if it wasn't going to end up being great for Oklahoma moving forward.
And anybody that was around the program knew what they had coming back. Baker was a tremendous leader, and he could galvanize a unit. He went on to win the Heisman and become the #1 draft pick. And so Bob really had a choice. He could pursue that or choose a smooth succession. Bob chose the smooth succession.